Hello. Today we're talking about pretty privilege.
It's actually a big topic on TikTok, you know. I see these things all the time.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
I feel like let's define what it is. So what do you think pretty privilege is?
I mean, pretty privilege is having privilege because you're considered attractive, right? Like, that's the whole point.
But it's definitely a thing, right?
No, it's 100%. 100% a thing. I mean, do you believe in it?
I definitely believe that pretty privilege exists, and I think that your life can be easier if you're seen as attractive in the place that you're in. I think the thing about privilege, because of being pretty is very subjective to the place that you're in, right? Mm-hmm. So like pretty privilege can be different in the UK, different in Egypt, in Ireland, maybe in Syria. Like it's very depending on the place and the location and the ethnic group that you belong to and all of that kind of stuff.
Even like the beauty standards and like how it's related to each place. Like we were speaking before in one episode in season 1 how like my mum, when she went to Syria, they were so confused by her freckles. Like they thought they wanted to help her take them off, but but obviously here, like, people love freckles. But over there, because she was light and all of this, like, she was
pretty in that sense.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's very funny because even with the freckles, like, I draw on freckles. Recently, I've started to have freckles show up on my face, and it's been the most exciting thing ever. Even though I know that for Arabs, like, freckles is something that they want to hide because it shows imperfection in the complexion. It's just so interesting.
You know, when we speak about pretty privilege, let's go to like the beginning of our lives, okay? So, what is your opinion on when parents would be like, oh, okay, we're going to have such beautiful kids? Like, that's a sentence that you hear people say all the time. Or like, oh, I know that we would have such beautiful babies, or I want my babies to be beautiful. Or like, when they have a baby, it's all about how beautiful it is. Like, what? Let's unpack, because that's you're basing a literal newborn's baby or your unborn's baby. I don't want to say you're basing its worth or value on its beauty, but it's one of the first things people mention.
I mean, now you can genetically modify a child to have blue eyes, like big lips. It's a thing, right? It's a thing that exists.
It is, but oh my God. It's scary. Like, it actually makes me sad because it makes me feel like so much emphasis is placed on the way that people look. Like, it's such a superficial thing, but it makes me feel like, I mean, it must be a very important thing in society, right? Like you say, it's a privilege. So I think people feel like if their child is beautiful, and somebody did say this to me when I asked them actually, when they feel like their child is beautiful, they feel like they want them to be beautiful because they'll have a better life because of it.
They have better opportunities. They basically have privilege, right? I don't know. I think number one, I think this topic for me is uncomfortable because I feel like I've always cringed when people would like really emphasize on people's appearance or kids' appearance. Like, I would obviously be like, oh, that baby's so cute, and like babies are adorable. And I feel like I have a theory that babies have to be adorable because all they do is poop and like cry and stuff. I feel like God created them cute so that God created them
so we don't abandon them.
Yeah, so that we can handle them or like
love
them. What's nastahmel?
Like, deal with or put up with.
Yeah, basically put up with their shit, literally. So I feel like
or do you think that's the case, or do you think just like we have that innate thing in us that anything that comes from us like that's new and innocent we feel the need to protect because it's just instinct?
I think it's innate, but I also think anything miniature is adorable. Like, not just something that comes with us in babies, but like if you see like a little
cactus.
Yeah, like a little cactus, you're like, oh, that's just adorable. It's like small. Maybe it is that instinct that it's small and you want to protect it.
Yeah.
Even if it's a cactus? Question
mark?
Even
if it's a cactus, I guess. But I wanted to say, like, this emphasis on something that we deem so superficial. I was actually thinking about this the other day. That even though, so I have two things. So they go in different directions, okay? I want to hear your thoughts. So this emphasis that we place on outer appearance and potentially it being because there is such a pretty privilege, more attractive people, quote unquote attractive, tend to do better in life, right? As in, maybe they have more opportunities for like people are nicer to them, or more doors open for them, or whatever it may be. But ultimately, attraction is beauty is so heavily linked with attraction, right? And so I feel like it's probably tied to our need to procreate. Like, as humans, it's a very biological thing. So maybe attraction, even though we all say the least important thing is the way that you look, which I do believe, the reason that maybe so many people get so down about it, like, oh, I feel like I don't look good, or I feel like I'm weighing too much recently these days, or I feel like I'm da-da-da, or I don't look toned, or I don't look whatever. I feel like maybe, even subconsciously, the reason it's such a big thing in this world is because of our need to procreate.
I don't agree, because I think that a lot of girls want to be friends with girls that, they're not attracted to them, but because they're pretty, right? That's a thing in high school. So, like, you want to be friends with the pretty girl, even if you're not... I mean, I never personally experienced that, but I know that it's very much a thing. Even if you're not attracted to her, you don't want to procreate with that girl. You just... She's outer... Like, her outer appearance is beautiful, and you feel like you want to be in her presence.
Do you feel like that's more related to status? Because, like, I was trying to break it down and be like, so what is the reason? What is the reason?
What is the reason? Honestly, I think one of the reasons is, well, the fact that the media and advertising has really made it such an important thing. But I think even breaking that down, I think it's because what we were saying the other day is that our visual, like, the ability to see and sight is one of our 5 senses. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of the one that is the most maybe stimulating, like seeing things. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't want to say the most stimulating because taste is pretty sick itself. But seeing things is something that we all appreciate as humans. So seeing something beautiful is maybe something that we appreciate, which is so uncomfortable for me, because I always thought, oh, it really doesn't matter what people look like. And I still agree the same way that you're saying. Mm-hmm. But I think, like, as a counter, no, like, being visually stimulated is really important. Seeing a beautiful landscape, seeing a beautiful, like, beach, it excites you. Like, it brings you either peace, or it brings you excitement, or it brings you calmness. So I think that could be the same way in the souls that we interact with, that are, like, encapsulated in these human bodies, and how these bodies look like give us a sense of, like, oh, this is it. There's maybe subconsciously, if it's a pretty body, it's like, oh, this could be a pretty soul. Even though I feel like there's no correlation, obviously.
By the way, they do say that people that look more beautiful, symmetrical, are people who there's an association with
the halo effect
in other people's minds. Exactly.
Yeah.
Do you want to explain that for anyone that might not be familiar with that?
They even did it on, like, criminals, right? Like, criminals who were more attractive. It was kind of discredited that they would have done that crime, because surely not, like, maybe
they couldn't have.
Yeah, they couldn't have, because they're attractive. They give you this sense of, like, peace and, like, almost reassurance that they would never do such a thing. And then criminals that were more, like, stereotypically not attractive to whoever is judging this criminal behavior, then they were more likely to be seen as, like, oh, it makes sense how they could have done that criminal act, right?
It's basically that the prettier you are, the better people think you are as a person. Like, they literally think, like, the bigger the halo on your head.
Well, I think I was thinking about pretty privilege, and if we've experienced it in ways, and kind of thinking about it in the culture aspect, right? And even how colorism exists, and, like, being tanned in Egypt. I mean, now it's different with globalization, but even before, being a tanned woman in Egypt is unattractive, but being tanned in the UK is attractive, and being darker skin in Egypt is a bad thing, and all of that. And I was thinking about if I've ever experienced pretty privilege. So I went online and Googled, how do you know you've experienced pretty privilege? Okay. And a lot of people were sharing their experiences, and one of the things that people who have experienced pretty privilege have received, like a comment that they've received, is, I thought you were such a bitch when I met you, but you're so nice. But I've never received that. Like, I've never...
Really?
Yeah. I've never had people say, oh, I thought you were so mean. Mainly because I don't think I really have a resting
I
face.
feel like because you're not mean when you meet people, and you're warm. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're friendly.
No, but a lot of pretty girls get this a lot. Like, I thought you were mean, like I thought you were stuck up, and they end up being lovely people. But it's because maybe they seem intimidating because they're really pretty or whatever. But something that I did want to touch on is pretty privilege isn't just your face. I think it's your body, it's your outfit, it's your clothes. And I feel like I started to experience pretty privilege when I discovered the glory of the hats and the bucket hats.
Stop.
No, I'm partly joking, but I'm also partly serious. Also, I look really red in the camera.
In what way?
I always hated how, not hated, but it wasn't my favorite thing. It wasn't something that I paid much attention to. But I wasn't really a fan about how the hijab creased onto my forehead. I was never happy with this
I
sitting.
used to love the way that your hijab was sit.
But I always told you, right?
Hats.
Even in
Yeah,
photos,
you did.
I'm like, oh, I hate how I never got it right. I feel like, mashallah, you were able to fold it properly on your head shape and like get it right. I felt like I never got it right. It was,
but
something
the way
I was
that
like,
you did it, it was something that bothered you. But I always thought that the way that you did it really suited you.
I mean, I didn't mind it. I just felt like it wasn't it. I felt like I didn't reach the peak of the hijab folding journey. And when I discovered a hat and you could just cover that up, or like bucket hats, normal like sport hats with like baseball caps or whatever, I felt like maybe it was my energy radiating of me feeling like, oh, I finally finalized this forehead thing. And I think for a while it wasn't a huge insecurity, but it was something that I knew that wasn't a physical asset, that I was like, oh, I like this about myself, was how big my forehead was. So I think utilizing
They say the girls with the biggest foreheads are the prettiest, by the way.
I heard this. I mean, Rihanna has a big forehead, so period.
So you feel like you've experienced pretty privilege when you're wearing a bucket hat. In what way?
Okay, I started wearing my bucket hat on we kind of discovered this hat journey together.
Yeah, we did.
Right? August,
Shout out.
September, Gazif.
Yeah, Gazif.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So August, September 2019, we went on a trip and they gave us free hats. And I fell in love. I'm like, this is the answer to my prayers. I feel like I got surgery without getting surgery. This is beautiful. It's glorifying. And then I discovered the bucket hat. And that just changed my life. I was actually not going to wear it today just to make a point, but I felt like I'm comfortable, so I'm gonna I'm gonna keep wearing it. But
keep wearing that hat.
Okay, when I wore the bucket hat, I rarely really received comments from people being like, oh, you're really pretty or blah blah blah, and it wasn't something that I was ever seeking. But since we're talking about the topic, in hindsight, when I wore the bucket hat, I would get compliments from random strangers. I don't know if it's because I was feeling myself, but I remember one time I was taking the train in London and this random person came up to me and he was like, you obviously model, Msharfe. I'm like, is it the bucket hat? Stop. I can take it off and I'm a complete catfish. Like, it's fine. But and like even people in the library, girls in the library, like I was telling you last time.
They would tell you that they like your hat or that they think you're pretty. What would it be?
I mean, some people would say that they like my hat, but for the most part, it would be like, oh, like, I love your... To be honest, I think it's related to style, maybe appearance, but I do feel like the bucket hat emphasizes my facial features. Any beauticians tell me the science behind this?
But also, this isn't true because... I get that's your experience, but people told you before you were wearing the bucket hat about how pretty you were.
Okay, it wasn't strangers. It was my friends.
No, somebody literally messaged me, mashallah alayki.
That day I was wearing makeup as well.
But they had messaged me. Do you remember? You know what I'm talking about. They had messaged me saying, like, your friend, like, she's so beautiful, mashallah. And, like, that was before your hat journey. Like, your face is your face.
My face is my face, but this was a rare occasion, like this situation of the person meshing. These were rare occasions. Honestly, it's like when I put the hat, it was like a halo. It's like, I'm wearing the hat now. My dad the other day was asking me, why are you always wearing this silly little hat? I'm like, I have my reasons, but it makes me feel good.
And that's what matters.
Yeah, and I'm thinking on my wedding day, you're telling me that I can't wear a bucket hat?
Maybe you could wear a bucket wedding hat, like a little white.
Oh my god, imagine. My husband will run right away. But yeah, I thought this was something that was really interesting, to be honest.
Did you experience it in any other way apart from compliments? Did you notice that people would treat you differently? Not just what people would say to you, but how people would treat you?
You know, I struggle with this treatment situation because I think that no. Like, even when I was an ugly little teenager, like with acne and stuff, I don't think that people ever treated me differently, to be honest. I don't think I ever realized, like, when I used to have acne and then my acne went away, I didn't really realize the treatment of people. I don't know if it's because I wasn't exposed to a lot of people, like strangers. I would just have my friends and family around me that loved me, like, no matter what I looked like. And vice versa. I know a lot of girls talk about this, even on TikTok. Like, مثلا, they lost a lot of weight and they realized, like, the complete change in how people treated them. Or people who got surgery and they realized how people treated them differently. But me with acne going away, it's not something that I ever noticed. I don't know if it's because I never paid attention to it. I didn't really care about other people other than my friends. I don't know, like, what do you think about this treatment thing? Do you feel like you felt people treated you differently when you were feeling yourself?
I think for sure. And like you're saying, I'm not sure if it's because... I'm not sure if it's...
The energy radiating.
Yeah, because of your own energy. But I do think also sometimes it is what you look like too. I do believe that. Like, I feel like people are more smiley whenever I'm out and I'm like, I have a nice outfit on and I have like makeup on and stuff. I definitely do feel that. Also, I remember like I've even been like greeted differently. Like this girl, I had come in, like normally she was friendly, like, but a normal level of friendly, right? Like oh hi, whatever, like we wouldn't really hug from what I remember. If we did, maybe like every once in a while, do you know what I mean? And I came in for my performance the day that I was
I there?
Yeah. Did I say something to you?
You didn't say something to me, but I was like, wow, like, because I knew this girl, but I was like, oh, I didn't know that they were this good friends. Get away from my best friend. No,
That's so funny that you noticed this, or like that you remembered it, because I remember thinking,
God. Like, oh, you never mentioned that you guys were this close to friends.
No,
I knew that you would have known her. Yeah,
I knew her, but we weren't. Like, and I was like so dressed up, right? Like in this like outfit, heels, whatever, makeup, like red lipstick, and I never really wore like red lipstick. Lashes, like the works, right? And like she literally like hugged me so tight and like kissed me on like both the cheeks or one, I can't remember, but it was like a greeting that like she hadn't. That's the first like example that popped in my mind. But
I do have a question about the specific interaction. You mentioned that you just got off, like you just finished performing.
I didn't finish performing. I was going in to perform and she was just at the door. Yeah.
Do you feel like people treated you differently after they knew that you can sing?
This is a really interesting question, you know, because
mashallah, if you're listening and you don't know, Aisha has a beautiful voice, mashallah, knock on all the woods around you. Like, beautiful.
Thank you. No, basically, this is a whole different topic, because in high school, I was...
Wait, it is a different topic, but it's on the same wavelength, because it's almost, I guess it's not pretty privilege, but it's like talent privilege. Like, you're cool now, you know? I mean, you're always cool, but I feel like when people see that you're really good at something, they feel like they want to be friends with you, or they feel like you're cool, or you have like some sort of higher social status now that you can do this thing that most people can't do well.
Do you know, it's so funny because in high school, especially in my like last 2 years, I feel like I was always like quote unquote like a confident girl, but I also felt like quite insecure in my last like 2 years of high school, I guess. Like they were the years that I had put on my hijab and stuff, and I was kind of like a little bit quieter to a degree, like, and I remember like when I had performed, what I had enjoyed was like surprising people with myself.
She's Hannah Montana, everyone.
I'm dead. I think
the reveal. I feel like this is a movie.
I felt kind of like, invisible is the wrong word, but like I want to go on that kind of vibe, right? Like I felt quite insecure. I felt like so uncool. Like I was such like the little insect. year 7 and stuff, I was like the nerdy kid. So I remember in year 7 when I had sang and people were like, oh my god, like you can sing, whatever. I definitely noticed a difference in the way that people were like responding to me after I had like come and sang. Do you know what I mean? And I enjoyed that feeling. I remember feeling like, oh, like I
valued.
I don't know if it's valued
or that you surprised
or like
them.
Seen or feeling like I was seen for what I am rather than what like their perception is of you, of like this little like kid with frizzy hair that's like wearing these glasses and has these braces or whatever. Do you know what I mean though? So I definitely 1000% like noticed differences and things like that. Even in year 10 when the example that I gave you was in year 7 when I was feeling like the little nerdy loser kid. They don't know a good thing when they see it. Look at me now.
Exactly. They hadn't heard it, so they were discrediting the talent.
But and I think, by the way, even when I went up to sing, I remember people like laughing-ish as if to be like, oh my god, this girl
is gonna sing.
Like almost like looking at each other like across the room, as in like, oh my god, I'm already embarrassed for her. Wallah.
This is such a coming of age movie.
Honestly.
You remove your glasses, you're like, this is me.
Honestly. But yeah, I would definitely say that's what I experienced. And then in year 10, like after I'd performed, everyone was like that. The whole school, it was like a Christmas thing. They were like, oh my god, like, yeah. So
those are the people that you stay away from. Exactly. The people that only want to be your friends.
Like Jessie J says, who's laughing now? Like they want to be your friend when you're famous. That's not how things work.
The school halls were standing for me. Everyone was clapping for me. It was so hard to be famous. Do you know what this reminds me of? When I was kind of doing a little search on this, is that ugly privilege exists too, and there's benefits of being ugly. And I was like, this is a very interesting concept. But you triggered the thought in my mind when you were saying you felt like you weren't seen like before. And apparently the privilege of being quote unquote ugly, and I'm using the term ugly lightly, but not seen, is that nobody notices you, so you can do whatever the heck you want.
It depends, Nord. It depends, because no,
it's a double-edged sword with all of these things. So it's just a concept. Hear it out, because I know exactly what you're going to say, and I agree. Like, I don't think I'm saying I'm not. It
depends to what degree, because if you're getting picked on, wallahi, I was the kid that the boys would pick on in year 7. I was actually the kid that the boys would pick on, like take the mick out of. Honestly,
give me their names.
Honestly, Will.
Okay, I'm writing paper pen. Will, home address, Norwich.
So I feel like honestly kids are the worst. I think we were about 11, 12 at this point. But I think also I would fight back, so they would want a reaction. Do you know what I mean? But so that's why I'm saying I feel like sometimes it's not a privilege if you're really like the nerdy kid.
Yeah, I think pretty privilege is definitely the thing, but it just as a counter of ugly privilege. I'm not saying in your situation, but something that kind of sparked a thought in my mind is that the thing that, you know, when you're ugly, I guess, in the sense that people are paying attention to the pretty or the person that's standing out, people aren't really paying attention to you, so you could do whatever you want, like no eyes are on you. And I feel like I experienced that actually in school, like the ugly privilege type of thing. Like my memories aren't about how I looked. Pretty privilege, hair out, hijabi, acne equals ugly privilege in that sense, okay? So privilege comes with a lot of things. As we were saying, it's a situation. If you're the only hijabi, so if there's a group of hijabis, you're all hijabis, pretty privilege would manifest itself differently in that situation. But if you're the only hijabi, you're not figuring out your style yet. Style is a part of pretty privilege. Like understanding your aesthetic, I think, elevates your outer appearance, I guess. But I was thinking how I was on the beach the other day with my friends, and one of my friends was like concerned about how she's looking, how she's appearing, and whatever. I was the only hijabi, I was wearing a burkini, and the thought of my appearance didn't even come to me, because I almost knew that in this case I have ugly privilege. I can do whatever I want. I can roll around in the sand, I can swim in the beach, because I know that with whatever I'm wearing now in the beach, which is the bikini, the hijab swimsuit, I know that I'm not seen as attractive, and I know that I'm unappealing in that sense if we're talking about attraction in the male gaze. And to me, that's so freeing on the beach. Like, I feel like I'm not worrying about anything popping out. I'm not worrying about this. I'm just solely worrying about having fun and enjoying the water, the sand, and the sun.
Freeing.
I felt like in that case, I had ugly privilege, and it was beautiful. But it's just a counter. I know that being quote unquote stereotypically ugly, a lot of people face issues until they're like 50s or whatever. Like, it can be traumatizing. But it's interesting how in this situation, when we're talking about style, when we're talking about privilege, pretty privilege being the attraction from the opposite sex, and in this situation, I know that no one feels this way about me because of the way that I'm dressed, like covered up. And in the beach, like, even aesthetically, it's just like a black costume. There is no color, there's no whatever. It felt like I had some sort of privilege in that sense. It's such an interesting thing. Like, it's very minor. I'm not saying
no. It's not minor at all. Relax. It's not minor at all. But I think that comes with, rather than it being like ugly privilege, I would say that it's just like a privilege that comes with when people aren't looking at you from that kind of like attraction-based lens.
Thing.
Do you know what I mean?
Maybe
like,
it's like modesty privilege.
And it's like, but you found it liberating, Sarah.
I loved it because I wasn't even thinking that, oh, this person's going to look at me in this way. Someone walk here and hide me or whatever. I wasn't thinking about that. I was thinking, I can't wait to get in the water. Like, I'm so excited. Like, I'm just going to bounce around. I literally, I know that maybe my belly is rolling, whatever. Like, it just feels like my appearance in this situation, because I'm not conforming to the stereotypical standard of what you should look like in a beach or what most people look like on that beach. To me, it just felt super freeing. Yeah, to be honest.
Yeah. No, I get that. Like, even with a hijab, sometimes I feel like that sense privilege. Of like, I mean, yeah, the way that you're labeling it. Okay, like, sure, if that's what we're gonna call it,
is so bad. I know,
if that's what we're gonna call it, then yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like people aren't looking at me in this way, so it's a liberating thing to not feel like this is even something that I have to pay attention to. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. But I did want to say on your point, I did say that I never felt people treating me differently, but there is one instant, which is the whole train ride situation, when you like want to get through and your ticket, like want to get through, but you have the wrong ticket to get through for like the underground or the train. I think this is maybe like the only situation or one of the few situations where I do feel like if I'm dressed up, I have my lashes on, I get away with maybe having the wrong ticket than if I was in my normal state.
Yeah.
Just so I'm honest to myself, or honest to what I was saying before. I remembered I wanted to say that, but I forgot.
No, but I feel like that's all part of the package, isn't it? Like, let me bat my eyelashes a few times.
Yeah,
like,
just a few times.
It helps you like get what you want. Sometimes that's how it is. But even like talking about high school, so from that like year 7 state to like year 9, where I started like taking care of my hair, like I started maybe wearing a little bit of makeup, sometimes like very light makeup,
emphasizing features.
Yeah, like, and they would be things that I would be complimented on, like, especially I never know if we can say things like this, but like I would always be complimented on my hair when I was like in year 9 by like even teachers when I would walk in.
You can say this.
Yeah. Even
it was a feature that was prominent.
Yeah, prominent, and like that really was complimented, even like by teachers or by like people in shopping places. Like they would stop me, or like teachers would sit and be like, oh, Aisha, literally sometimes in front of the whole class, in order to the point where I'd be like but
you walk in as a hijab a year later, then
honestly,
like, what?
honestly so I definitely noticed even then like a difference in the way that people wanted to treat you. Like, more people wanted to be your friend, more people wanted to be like nice even to you, like a normal human being. I think they were the like two extremes though, honestly.
So you felt like you had like a little glow up from year 7 to year 9.
1000%.
And you realized the difference.
Yeah. 1000%.
Aisha always talked about her year 9 popular phase.
My year 9, it wasn't even,
she had all the pretty privilege.
It wasn't even like, guys, it wasn't even popular by normal standards. It was just it was just a normal amount of like speaking to people, confidence. I was confident, that's what it was. But in comparison to my year 7, oh my god, in comparison to my year 7, I was Sharpay Evans in year 9.
Yeah. The fabulous life of Sharpay Evans. I have Aisha saved on my phone as Sharpay Evans.
Yeah.
That energy is still there.
Honestly, I feel like energy is so much, even like confidence when you walk into a room, even like girls and boys, like confidence would make me more attractive to somebody. We place so much value on beauty, even by saying that everyone is beautiful. Like, even by somebody saying that sentence, everyone is beautiful, you're placing so much emphasis on beauty, because not anyone is anything. Like, you're not going to be like, everyone is smart, or everyone is funny, or everyone's a hard worker. Like, if you were to do that, suddenly you're placing so much emphasis on everyone being smart to the point where like you feel like it's a bad thing to say somebody isn't smart, and it makes it this bigger deal. That does everyone need to be beautiful? Is saying that everyone is beautiful and putting that sentence on this pedestal, is that itself placing our worth just on beauty? Does everyone need to be beautiful?
I think this is an interesting point. Thank you very much for bringing this up. But I do want to say, I feel like different types of beauty is the key here. So when you say everyone's beautiful, it's not that everyone is one type of beautiful. It's that everyone has different types of beauty, or like everyone is smart. Everyone is smart, but in a different way. Like, I could be smart creatively. Someone else could be smart engineering wise. You could be smart in picking up notes and hearing voices and audio and stuff like that. So I think it's audio, singing voices, basically. So I think بالعكس, I think that the narrative of everyone's beautiful and everyone's smart and everyone's this is important. It's just the issue is that emphasizing that there's different types of smart and different types
and that
of beauty.
It's subjective.
Not even subjective, that it exists in many different ways. I'm not talking about the perception now, but I'm just talking about the existence of it, the way that it shows up in different ways for different people. That's what's important.
But that would also mean, if we're to say that, then that would also mean that subjectivity is a big part of it, because I might see something as smart, funny, or beautiful that somebody else just does not see as smart, funny, or beautiful, and they see something else. Yeah, I suppose it's true even in like senses of humors. That's why people have different senses of humors. They find different things in different people funny.
This is what it comes down to, like, to really celebrate diversity. I feel like that's so important, like diversity in everything. And diversity is so important, like even in advertising agencies, they need diversity in sense of humor, because you want to make sure that you're catering to different senses of humors, because like you say, it's very subjective. If we're talking about beauty diversity now, the more that we see it on different platforms, social media, all of that, the more that we accept it and we understand that like pretty is a lot of different things. But right now, pretty is kind of like that one thing that me and you are thinking of, like what pretty is.
But like it exists in different formats, and it's for you to understand how. And it's for you to see or open your mind to the fact that this is also beautiful, or this is also smart. It's just not academically, for example, or this is also funny when I look at like what their intention was, or what the reasoning for whatever it was that made them say that was, you know, I guess. Yeah.
And culture like plays a huge role here. Like what's smart in Egypt or in a specific part in Egypt can be different to smart in a UK, a British family. Like culture plays a huge role in how those things appear and manifest themselves.
Do you feel like you've experienced pretty privilege differently from when you're in England versus when you're in the Middle East?
It's weird because I feel like my first glow up, I'm not talking about the hat glow up, guys. I'm talking about like, you know, after acne glow up, 18, moving to the UK. I felt like I was in that phase anyways. Like the move that I had from Egypt to the UK was the same internal move that I had where I was starting to accept myself more, be more confident in like who I am, appearance wise and personality wise, and like everything. I was moving to the UK. I was so excited. I felt like I was radiating that energy potentially. So maybe that's the energy that I received back.
Oh, do you think?
But I think also there's an element of being exotic.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you, like, even my accent in my flatmates, it was something that was like picked up a lot.
Different.
Like, I love your accent. I don't know, even though my accent here, my English accent is like, it's normal, like it's very bland, but in the UK it would be like, oh, I love the way that you speak, Musharfe. And then when you came to Egypt, that was the same thing in your Syrian accent. You had like accent privilege, pretty accent privilege, right? Pretty privilege in that sense of like being exotic is a thing, right? How did you feel when you've experienced it when you came to Egypt?
I feel like I'm considered hotter in the Middle East. I think that's how it is. Like, I don't know if that's because it's like to do with accent or actual look or the fact that I'm hijabi. So in England, like culturally, like that isn't what's linked to what's beautiful, but in the Arab world, it's what's normal. But I think I'm hotter in the Middle East.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a thing. It's definitely a thing. Kaman, you're quite like white skin. So you have pretty privilege.
So they consider you more attractive.
Yeah, so you're more attractive in that sense. You're quite petite as well. That's an attractive thing in the Middle East. Maybe in the UK people aim for like very, I actually know,
slim, thick.
Yeah, but here
nowadays
I guess, but in Egypt, like I guess being slim, petite, like your structure is definitely pretty privileged here.
Honestly, it's different places and different things, isn't it? That's interesting then. Honestly, I feel like you say, beauty really is in the eye of the beholder, and God knows what the reason people obsess about it is so much. Like, is it an innate thing? Is it like a status thing?
Is it because we naturally love beautiful things? We love beautiful landscapes. We love beautiful home decor. I love a good home decor.
A home decor is nice.
Yeah, but isn't it weird how like with humans, I really advocate that I really don't care what you look like, but with other things, I quite care what, like I love fashion. I love home decor. I love beautiful sights. I love whatever. Why is that?
I think because with
humans,
with people, it's the soul that counts. And that's what you really see. No matter how like stereotypically, to do with that beauty standard at that time, let's say, attractive someone is, or how attractive you see them subjectively. I feel like that changes when you see the soul, you know?
Exactly.
That's how it is.
So the conclusion is see the soul.
See the
soul. That sounds like a music album.
Nurture your soul. Yeah. And do you.
Yeah. At the end of the day, like, people are just, like, put in this bodies. Like, these bodies are just their houses.
They're our vehicle.
Yeah, they're our vehicle, exactly. And we're just, like, being inside of them. I heard this thing that was someone was saying, sometimes we need to just be human beings and stop worrying about humans doing.
What do you mean by that?
Like, when you put pressure on, like, doing stuff, but we're just human beings. Why do we need to be humans doing things? We can just be humans who be things.
Oh my God. I like that.
So be human beings.
Yeah, no matter what it is that you are, just be. I feel like we're often so focused on like changing and developing and growing, and I'm so guilty of this.
Guilty as
charged.
But
like, honestly, that like let's actually just be for a minute and enjoy what we are.
Yeah, exactly.